owned by their fathers and then by their husbands.
Status to the domination by men.
Yeah.
You already said that you thought that what emancipated women primarily in the 20th century was technological revolution.
No, not primarily, but that's one of two. I think that's two things.
Not primarily, eh?
No,
you don't think the pill was a primary force in the emancipation of women?
I think
or the invention of tampons, let's say, or the provision of proper sanitary facilities, toilets, and that sort of thing. You're thinking instead it was the action of courageous feminists in the 1920s that produced a social revolution that overthrew the patriarchy. That's your theory.
Yeah, I think
that's a foolish theory.
What's poppin', YouTube? We back with another reaction video. You dig? Hey, to those of y'all that do not know, I am doing a $100 giveaway when I get to 350 subscribers. So be on the lookout for that video. Right now we at 315 as the time I'm recording this video. We might be at a little more by the time it dropped, but yeah, as of now I'm at 315. So I'm almost there, yeah. But on that video, the way you have to be entered, you have to be subscribed and your notification bells have to be turned on. Simple as that. To be entered, if you're not subscribed, notification bells turned on, you can't enter. But yeah, on that video, when I hit that video, I'm gonna say, hey, this is the video of 350 subscribers, and I'm going to I want you guys to comment down below how you want to get paid: Venmo, Cash App, PayPal. Write those names down below and write which app it is. You know what I'm saying? Then I'm gonna put a number next to your name. I'm gonna put a number next to your comment, and that's gonna be your number for the random number generator. And then I'm gonna do a random number generator. And when that number pop up, I will be giving you your $100. Hey, that's what we doing. Yeah, hit that like button, comment, subscribe. Hope y'all enjoy this video. Let's get right started. What's the name of this video? This is Jordan Peterson's Most Savage Comebacks, Highest Last Compilation, New 2018. But let's get started.
how much responsibility do you feel that you have, particularly guys the alt-right, who, as you say, some of them have enjoyed your work and say,
No,
I'm not one of you guys. I'm not with you guys.
They haven't enjoyed my work.
I've definitely read bits on the internet.
Read more.
Do you think a trans woman is...
So if, let's just say, there's a rapist watching my videos, does that mean I'm contributing to rape? Or that mean I need to change what I do just because there are some rapists that watch my videos or like my content? I can't control what people like and don't like. I'm not promoting that shit, but if they like it, then they like it. I can't do nothing about that. How can you blame him for that?
is a real woman?
I don't really like the way those questions are formulated. Now, I don't know what that means. What do you mean a real woman?
Well, I'm asking you, in your mind, you know, it depends what you think a real woman is, but do you think a trans woman...
There's no such thing as what I think a real woman is. That's not a real question. You know what I'm saying?
Is a woman?
No.
No.
Why not?
Because I think that women are capable, generally speaking, of having babies, and they have female genitalia, and they have an XX chromosome, and I think the biological markers are relevant.
I'm interested in people being able to have different choices and having equality of outcome.
Aha, well, so the overwhelming proportion of people who are in prisons are male. Now, do you want to equalize that, just out of curiosity? What about bricklayers? They're 99% male, and we've got about 3/4 of the population now in universities in the humanities and social sciences are female.
Yeah.
Are we going to equalize that? And men work longer hours. They work more dangerous jobs. They're more likely to move. They're more likely to work outside. They're more likely to participate in jobs in the STEM fields that are scalable. They make more money for those reasons. And that's all hidden under the idea that the reason that men and women make different amounts of money is because of their gender. It's a very simplistic analysis.
Why are you against the use of alternate pronouns?
I'm against the use of legislation to determine...
And that's what it is. People don't want to be forced to say stuff. If I choose to look at Bill and he want to be called Jennifer, or he wants me to call him a she, I shouldn't have to be forced to do that. Like, legally, nobody should have to be forced to do that. Like, that should be a choice. You know what I'm saying? Especially if it goes against everything that's common and everything that's logical.
What words are. that myself and other people are required to utter.
But would you use alternate pronouns if a student asked you to?
I think I've made my position on that clear already.
Well, perhaps not to our audience at home who are just being introduced to this. Would you use alternate pronouns? And why not?
Because I don't believe that other people have the right to determine what language I use, especially when it's backed by punitive legislation. And when the words that are being required are the constructions, they're artificial constructions of people I regard as radical ideologues whose viewpoint I do not share.
Until women got full legal rights, they could own property for themselves, they could work. Essentially, they were owned. They were first owned by their fathers and then by their husbands.
Status to the domination by men.
Yeah.
You already said that you thought that what emancipated women primarily in the 20th century was technological revolution.
No, not primarily, but that's one of two. I think that's two things.
Not primarily, eh?
No,
you don't think the pill was a primary force in the emancipation of women?
I think
or the invention of tampons, let's say, or the provision of proper sanitary facilities, toilets, and that sort of thing. You're thinking instead it was the action of courageous feminists in the 1920s that produced a social revolution that overthrew the patriarchy. That's your theory.
Yeah, I think
that's a foolish theory.
Had to vote for that stuff.
That's pure narcissism at work, by the way.
It's spraying. Look at that spray. These people, man.
You know, to hijack an event like this that other people put time and effort into, and to use their civility of the crowd and the civility of the organizers as an excuse to blatantly yell out your ill-informed opinions is no way to conduct a civil dialogue. It's absolutely appalling. The people who do that should be embarrassed.
my idea of the patriarchy is a system of male dominance of society.
Yeah, but that's not my sense of the patriarchy.
So what's yours?
Well, in what sense is our society male-dominated?
The fact that the vast majority of wealth is owned by men, the vast majority of...
But that's because men have been accumulating the wealth longer. So, of course, that is how it's going to be. Duh.
And is owned by men. Women do more unpaid labor.
Very tiny proportion of men, and a huge proportion of people who are seriously disaffected are men. Most people in prison are men. Most people who are on the street are men. Most victims of violent crime are men. Most people who commit suicide are men. Most people who die in wars are men. People who do worse in school are men. It's like, where's the dominance here precisely? What you're doing is you're taking a tiny substrata of hyper-successful men and using that to represent the entire structure of Western society. There's nothing about that that's vaguely appropriate.
But I could say equally well that most rape victims are women. You know, terrible things happen to people of both sexes.
And you could say that with perfect utility, but that doesn't provide any evidence for the existence of a male-dominated patriarchy. I would say that anybody with more than a cursory knowledge of 20th century history who dares to claim simultaneously that they have compassion for the downtrodden and that they're Marxists are revealing either an ignorance of history that's so astounding that it's actually a form of miracle, or a kind of malevolence that's so reprehensible that it's almost unspeakable. Because we already ran the equity experiment over the course of the 20th century, and we already know what the Marxist doctrines have done for oppressed people all around the world, and the answer to that mostly was imprison them, enslave them, work them to death, or execute them. And as far as I can tell, that's not precisely commensurate with any message of compassion. Sorry, tried that, didn't work. We got 100 million corpses to prove it, and that's plenty for me. And if it's not enough for you, well then you should do some serious thinking either about your historical knowledge or about your moral character.
Question for Professor Peterson. Why do you feel that someone's personal gender identity and pronouns infringes your free speech?
Because you're trying to force me to say something I don't believe. Can one not also argue based on your interpretation that professors can use racial slurs in their classroom and that the inability to do so would violate their freedom of speech?
There's a difference between saying that there's something you can't say and saying that there are things that you have to say. And I regard these made-up pronouns, all of them, as the neologisms of radical PC authoritarians. Do you understand that? And I'm not a fan of that sort of person. And the reason I'm not a fan of that sort of person is because I've done my homework. I've read everything I can get my hands on in the development of authoritarian political systems, and I know the literature inside out and backwards. And I am not going to be a mouthpiece for language that I detest. And that's that. This whole patriarchy thing, I think you have no idea how pernicious and dangerous it is.
Well, no, I don't. I really don't. Go on.
Throughout history have fundamentally cooperated to push back against the absolute catastrophe of existence. A terrible death rate, the probability of chronic starvation, early death, disease, the difficulty of raising children with all the death that was associated with that. And to look backwards in time and say, well, basically what happened was men took the upper hand and persecuted women in this tyrannical patriarchy. It's an absolutely dreadful misreading of history. It's a terrible thing to teach young women, and it's a horrible thing to inflict upon men. When the Marxists say, well, that wasn't real Marxism, what it really means, and I've thought about this for a long time, it's the most arrogant possible statement anyone could ever make. It means, if I would have been in Stalin's position, I would have ushered in the damn utopia instead of the genocidal massacres, because I understand the doctrine of Marxism and everything about me is good. It's like, well, think again, sunshine. You don't understand it. You don't understand it. And you're not that good. And if the power was in your hands, assuming you had the competence, which you don't, you wouldn't have done any better. And even if you had, there would have been someone else waiting right behind you to shoot you the first time you actually tried to do anything good. And that's what happened to all the old guard who ran the damn revolution. Stalin rounded them all up and shot them, along with their families and millions of other people. So even if you do happen to be that avatar of moral purity that you claim implicitly, the probability that you'd get to act out your goodness in relationship to those possessed by your ideology is zero.
Is being sensitive to offence such a problem though? Like, we would have previously called that manners.
It's a terrible problem. So imagine okay, so the rule is you can't offend anyone, all right? Let's say you're speaking to one person, I can't offend you. All right, fair enough. What if I'm speaking to 10 people? Do I get to offend 1 in 10? How about 1 in 100? How about 1 in 1,000? You're going to come out on stage and you're going to say something important about something vital, and you're not going to offend 1 person in 1,000?
Yeah, that makes no sense.
You can't say anything about anything important ever without offending probably the person you're talking to. Important speech about important issues, especially contentious issues, is instantly offensive.
Alright, y'all. That's the end of the video. Shout out to Jordan Peterson. He always got some words of wisdom. He always be on point with what he be saying. That's because he know about what he be talking about. When you know about what you be talking about, you know what I'm saying? You ain't got to double question yourself. Nobody can challenge that. I mean, they could challenge it, but more times than not, they're going to come up wrong. You know what I'm saying? But hey, that's the end of that video. Let me know down below what you think about this video. There's a playlist up here, a subscribe button right there, a video over there, and another video right here. Comment down below what you're ready to next. We out. Peace.